I started building a timber frame for the entranceway for Frankie. And we're going to get into all the different components of it and my methodology behind, putting it together. Picking my timber is what I'm doing right now. And when I first start doing this, what I'm going to do is kind of just get a broad overview of what each piece is like. I'm looking for, crowning, so if it has a bow in it. I'm looking for, consistency and thickness, because all this is rough cut. It came from a local mill. He does a really good job, but every now and again he gets some wonkiness. And I'm also looking for species of wood. I'm pretty certain that all this is white pine except for this guy. I think this one's gonna be hemlock. It is way heavier than the rest. So I'll decide what I want to do with that. Good news, it's one of the shorter ones, so it might be a great candidate for the end beam. Because hemlock is ridiculously strong. It gets really hard. So the end beam is just only held in with 2 tenons, so that'd be a good purpose for that. Getting in there will be it'll be something. And that would make these 2 the posts and these 2 the other long beams. Yeah. That's about it. So now I'll check for crowning. Dead flat. It's even better for that end piece. Wow, that one's really good too. It's ground up. Crown is super minimal on all this stuff, so that's really good. I've had it stickered the entire time since it's been milled, so that really helps. Come up with a template, something simple. These are 2 templates from a torch star light that I'm installing here on this job, and you have a 6-inch one and a 4-inch one. I like to do 2 different size circles. I've used mason jars and paint cans. I've used whatever you want. Templates are the easiest. So, all I wanted to do is make sure that I was, from here to here is 5 inches back. And that's just because I have a post coming in here that I wanted this to be 1 inch in front of. You do it any way you want. It's fine. As long as you're not planning on intersecting, a post or beam or something here. So, set this guy here. Trace it out. Then, on the back side of your template, make sure you scribe exactly where the beam is coming in contact with your template. Now, you can very easily take your template, put it on the opposite side, and you can see the scribe line that I put on the other side matches with the top of the beam, right? So you just trace this side out, Now we can cut. I'm sure there's some sort of fancy saw that can be used to cut this out. I don't have one. I don't do this enough to justify it. I do know I can use a jigsaw and, well, small sawzall, and I can get this. I just want to take a moment to talk about how to create the pocket that the tenon of this gusset is going to go into. And that pocket is called a mortis. And you'll see on YouTube all these other timber framers that will use a fancy machine called a mortiser. Well, I don't have one of those because I don't do this enough. And I figured, well, some of you may not have one either. This is the face that you would physically see in a timber frame, and this is going to be the orientation of my gusset. Now I don't want this just mounted to the side of it or just mortised right into the face of it. I want it in the center of this timber. So what I'm going to do is, this is the exact location I want it in. I'm just going to put a little tick mark on either side of my tenon. Set my gusset over there. I know this is 1 7/8 inches thick, which is the thickness of my tenon. There we go. So that means I have a 6-inch timber. So the center of that is 3 inches. So half of 1 7/8 inches is 15/16. So I go basically about 2 1/16, up to 3 15/16, holding this on that first tick mark that I created. Where's another one? Oh, there it is. Same thing. Go down 15/16, go up 15/16. And I have those two. Then I just take the straight edge of my speed square, set it to the ends of my marks. Do it again on this side. There we have it. That's the location of my mortise. Now, how are we gonna get that wood out of there? Well, the technique I've done in the past is I just use a bit and a chisel, and I'll just drill a whole bunch of holes. Well, on this project, I happen to have my jigsaw sitting out, and what I've figured out to make this go a little bit faster and a whole lot cleaner is I'll put a drill hole here and a drill hole here, and then I can run my jigsaw from those two corners out, drill a couple of times in the center, and pretty much the majority of the meat's going to pop right out of there. So I'm just making sure that I'm not going to go past that line that I created on either side. Now we're using 6-inch timber here, and my tenon is 3 inches long, so I set my drill bit to be 3 inches from this edge of the chuck, so that I know exactly where my depth is. This is one green log, man. So now we know we have to get down to that depth down there. So I'm just going to use the drill and just kind of plunge it around, bounce it around in there, and it'll break up majority of that, and then we'll get in there and clean it up with the chisel. Oh man, it's 5 o'clock already. I've been talking with a customer about doing a big timber frame, and if we end up doing that, I'm going to buy a mortiser. Something is still not quite right. There she is. Toy as a toiga. Good thing too, because I'm just about out of gas, man. I gotta go. Now it's time to eliminate this gap on the bottom of the post. All I'm going to do is take my little compass, set it to the largest gap there, and make sure both tips are parallel to each other. And simply go around the post. You ever meet a timber framer who didn't love what they do? I haven't. I haven't met that many though, to be fair. And, you know, I dabbled in timber frame, I don't know, 10 years ago now. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I did it all old school. I used, you know, all traditional tooling, not a single bit of hardware. It was all pegged together. And it was a huge challenge for me. And it turned out amazing. I was really pleased with it. And I fell in love with timber framing then. And I've, you know, erected some aesthetic timber frames for some people, a couple little structural ones. And I've been dabbling with it here and there. And I really, really enjoy it. I wish I was a better salesman, honestly, because that may be the avenue I would dive deeper into and actually get educated in it. You know, there's a couple of schools out there that do a great job of really training people, and I'd love to attend them. I really would. Even if I don't do timber framing full time, there's tricks and nuances to everything, and the ability to level up my capability and to learn what, you know, people who do it for a living, how they do it, I'd really appreciate that. So that may come down the line at some point. But until then, I was just really, really happy to do it. And it got me thinking, you know, why do timber framers love what they do? And the best I can figure out is it allows them to be a kid again, right? You figure out what you're gonna build, and then you just take complete raw materials, you sculpt them into what you want them to be. You know, it's like playing with Play-Doh or playing with Legos, or, I mean, I used to go to job sites when I was a little kid and steal their cutoffs out of their dumpsters and come home and build birdhouses out of them. And I just really love that process. And so you get to make your own Legos, you get to erect your Lego set, and you get to feel like He-Man while you're doing it. It's a really satisfying craft, I would say. And especially coming off of spending pretty much the last 3 weeks of doing nothing but plumbing, which is not my forte. I was just, the creativity inside of me was just screaming to come out. And that's why the details I put into this timber frame came out. I was not planning on doing a peg design. I was not planning on doing the scroll work that I put into it, or the corbels. And it's, I'm glad I did, and I'm glad the timing worked out to where I really needed to express that artistry and really needed to just satisfy the creative itch that I have. It was perfect timing, because in my mind I had a very, very simple stack frame design I was going to do and just call it good and just move on to the next task. But honestly, because of being, what's the word I'm looking for? Captured by plumbing? I don't know. You know what I mean though, right? I wasn't allowed to do what I really like to do, and now I am, and it exploded. And I had to, I had to express it. So I did. And I think it looks amazing. I think I can even level it up even further. I think we're gonna get this coming week. Well, it depends on the weather. We've got a lot of rain in the forecast, so we'll see how that turns out. But if the weather holds out, I'm gonna stay right on that timber frame and just keep scrolling with it. And I did use the word scroll very particularly. So yeah, stay tuned for next week, because we're gonna just keep on this thing if I can. If the weather lets me, I want to stay on this. I'm excited, I'm happy to be back to being carpenter and rolling through this. All right, back to work. Timber frame entranceway. Man, I'm excited. This thing is so different for this neighborhood. I really feel it's just gonna be captivating when you walk by or drive by. You just can't help but stare at it. I was excited to drive up this morning and see it standing here, and it's gonna be so different when she's finished. I'm very excited. Can't tell, I'm excited. All right, well, thanks for stopping by. High Peaks Home.